Second part of our webinar, as said, we'll treat of well-being. The relevance of well-being is we can't imagine how relevant well-being is within within organization today, and how we are called to address well-being issue within organization, and especially in terms of building, we will see the importance of building business cases for well-being, which is definitely not only something, you know, how to say, related to ethics. For sure is ethically related, but there are other issues hampering the fact that we concretely embed and concretely embrace well-being within our dynamics. So we definitely discuss of it. Just 1 second, because I'm browsing to. All right, just 1 second, and we are almost done. I had to separate slides. So let's see. Here we go. Sorry for that. Okay. Can you see the screen now? Is it visible? I hope so. Just a quick confirmation. Felix, Quasi, can you all see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Sorry about that. I had these slides in another file. So let's go quickly through it. Employee well-being. So first of all, promoting and supporting employee well-being is, as we said, at the core of any of our HR activity. But the reason for this are not only of ethical nature, which for sure the ethical aspect of it is of primary importance. Indeed, we have a strong evidence and documented cases that workplace well-being deliver mutual benefit to people, organizations, and community as a whole, the economy. So it's not only something, you know, simply ethically related, or something with a huge impact on the economy, huge impact on organizational performance. So healthy workplaces, oppositely to the toxic ones, unfortunately, help people to flourish and express the potential among a long series of advantages. In substance, we may say that work environments that actively promotes well-being is a source for both employees and organizational benefits. So we have to make clear this, you know, is a double advantage. We will see one of the most important things in discussing of well-being will be the evolution of well-being and the concept of well-being, and what motivates organization, what does motivate organization in implementing well-being related activity and investment. This changed over time. This reflected evolution of business landscape. Likewise, the evolution of the issue well-being related within the workforce took place, and today we have a different scenario that we will define. Despite today, there is no there is a much more understanding and implementation of health and well-being approaches and initiatives in many workplaces and within organizations. There is also evidence that many organizations are not yet embracing the well-being and employees' health in their agenda totally. So this only, for instance, in my organization, this only occurs at stated level, but is not reflected, fully reflected within the reality of the work practice implemented within the organization. So let's list the immediate advantages deriving from well-being oriented HR approach and practices. Advantages like employee engagement, employees are motivated and more engaged, decrease of course of sickness, absence, high performance, and ability to cope with change. People are much more resilient in a healthy work environment. One of the main issues found within business is that well-being initiatives, something that is connected with what we said earlier, well-being initiatives are in the majority of cases isolated, and they are carried out in a standalone mode. So in order to carry the mentioned mutual advantages, well-being practices should not be singular activities, just put in the middle of other activities. No single events. They shouldn't be single events disconnected among each other and disconnected with the HR strategy and the HR practices and culture. So to be effective, HR practice based on employee well-being must be fully embedded in the organizational culture and integrated in the design of jobs. So HR professional not always found green light in investment well-being related. This requires us to have to convince our senior managers in order to prioritize well-being, as described earlier. So we can't take for granted that when we ask for investment in well-being, we will get the green light. Many cases, unfortunately, despite many people, despite many of us recognize the importance of employee health and well-being, there is still this kind of issue, in obtaining funds and green light for well-being related initiatives. The importance of, we should highlight that the importance of well-being and employee health within the organization has become more widely recognized over time in the UK and in the past decades. So many things have changed. We are in a totally different and better scenario for sure. But it must be highlighted that risks for workers from physical hazards still exist, despite injuries fallen in a kind of significant way, especially since the introduction of specific regulation like the Safety at Work Act 1974. However, what we should highlight today as a HR manager, as a manager generally speaking, is this sort of evolution. There has been a rise in the number of reported mental health issues over the past 10 years. So what activities and HR professionals must focus on today in order to deal with employees' well-being issue? is the evolution of well-being related problem within the workforce that determine what we have to do in terms of dealing with well-being, employee well-being issue. So it's widely recognized that risks to people's health at work are today, especially here in the UK, more and more of psychological nature. And this comes alongside the evolution of the work that is less manual than in the past. So we are dealing with another kind of another nature of well-being related issues. This has led to a growing recognition of the need for employers to well-being practices in order to address the psychological related well-being problem together with the physical one. And what we notice today is also increasing in HR practices in terms of employee assistance program, for instance, much more frequent, and training to build resilience as a response to the transition from physical to mental health related problem at work. So unhealthy work practices are also evolved, and they are of different nature today than in the past, such as we see this evolution. This is very important to us in order to deal with well-being at work, which is the evolution from physical problem to mental health related problem, and what kind of new issue are taking place within the workforce practices. We have two particular problems today, which are presenteeism and leavism. They are two different terms, new, let's say, used in the recent time. One of these is presenteeism, and workload is what we were discussing earlier with Yasser. So presenteeism is a source of large number of cases of well-being issues for many organizations. Let's say that presenteeism is when people keep working regardless being unwell, and generally in every circumstance. The rise of illness due to presenteeism, which leads to both physical and mental related problem, has increased dramatically among people working from home, as the boundary between private and work life, let's say, it tends to vanish. So presenteeism became something really threatening, especially for flexible work and remote works, because when people are working from home, there is no boundary anymore. People may work all day without pause because they are at home. People may work when they are unwell, with flu. So this is an issue that is particularly relevant for remote jobs, and we are called to deal with to be aware of it. Another trend in well-being related issues within the workplace is the reflection of current business dynamics in terms of gig economy and flexible working, which is leavism. This is when risks that people work also when they are, for instance, on holiday. People don't stop work. It's about the workload. People work outside the contracted hours or during annual leave. This is another phenomenon that is characterizing the workplace, and this comes alongside regulation, misuse, and vast spread of new kind of contracts like 0-hour contract. So people tend to work outside the working hour. People tend not to go on holiday in order to make money. This is the kind of different organizational challenging that we are dealing today, and kind of pressure coming from the work environment on our employees. So employers also need to think carefully about how the well-being strategy builds on and aligns to the organizational health and safety policies. So now described the trends in terms of employees' well-being. I have no doubt that for every one of us, building HR initiatives implies considering well-being as a priority. But in the reality of the workplace, employee well-being is not always, as mentioned, considered such a priority. Also because of pressure deriving from profitability, competition. So employee risk to be, kind of neglected, employee well-being kind of neglected, or something that only comes in order to, the standard duty of care of organization. Traditionally, why did organization traditionally care about well-being? What motivated them to do a step further in terms of caring for the employee well-being? Because simply keeping well-being within the organization agenda has been the focus on the negative impact of health on the profitability of the organization. So the absenteeism rate that worried the organization because of the impact on profitability. This has been the traditional reason why organization, put well-being within their agenda when this would occur, when their profitability was threatened because of people called sick. As HR professionals, building a healthy workplace will give us much better outcome in terms of productivity, other than be a ethical duty. So today, as a HR professional, we are prompt to build convincing, compelling business cases to influence senior management in investing in well-being programs. And this is the point. We shouldn't give for granted that our senior managers will invest in employees' well-being. So it's up to us, it's up to be able to build these business cases, convincing them of the multitude of advantages deriving from a healthy work environment. And this requires to integrate our well-being, the employees' well-being within the job, not only there is a large, vast massive use of the work-life balance. This is no longer, we are one step beyond. Work-life balance initiatives are aimed to compensate, mitigate the damages or imbalance determined from lack of consideration of well-being. Now, well-being must be considered from the onset. When we design job, it's not about creating work-life balance initiatives. This is a reductive approach. This is a kind that is becoming, backward. So studies on there are strong evidence allowing us to build strong business case within our organization related to well-being and justifying investment in employees' well-being. Many studies show that organization investing in approaches having as a core priority employee well-being recorded increasing in employee commitment and moral, things like also for instance, inclusive culture within the workplace. This is an effect of embracing well-being within the organization. It's about shaping the organizational culture, and the employees became automatically more inclusive. So, of course, lower absence due to work-related sickness. We are not promoting 360 days of work per year, but simply less absence for work-related sickness. Therefore, it would definitely underline that health and well-being shouldn't be considered as an additional or an optional factor to be added on top of the traditional work-related practice and initiatives. But employee well-being must be at center of the business culture, and at center of the business model as a principal factor to create value. Employee well-being today is a value creation factor. It's not something that we look after only because our absenteeism is increasing, only because no, it's something that we add value to our organization, our competitive advantage, the sustainability of the organization. Sustainability, yes, earlier mentioned a concrete case, 20 people leaving. In the UK, if I'm not wrong, the average cost for turnover is £11,000 per employee. Considering productivity curve, people start to produce at certain level within the employee life cycle, and induction processes and the bureaucratic stuff and management. So there is an estimation showing that organization minimally, in average, spends £11,000 for each involuntary turnover. So you can understand how losing employee and it's important, and how this activity is fundamental. So in terms of sustainability, we had a case, a real case from the real business, 20 people leaving altogether. Now, although the variety of areas and the required or suggested initiatives employee well-being related is vast, and the thing we can do is are countless, and factors like workforce faced, the peculiarity of the workforce, business of characteristic of the business, characteristic of the industry or sector, are all factors impacting and influencing the what the key areas are in terms of initiatives employee well-being related. But there are some area and principle that can act as a guidance leading the employee well-being strategy. So rather than be simply disconnected well-being initiatives, standalone initiatives. So if we want to build, like we should, employee well-being strategy, there are areas that we need to look after, and these areas are employee health, good work practice and good environment, organization values and culture, personal professional development, financial well-being. These are all areas of strategic relevance in building in embedding employee well-being within our strategy. So very quickly, employee health, this involves physical and psychological health, safe working practice, safe equipment, personal safety, training, a promotion of health. Good work practices, let's give some example. Good line management, effective people management policies, training for line manager, and good sickness absence management. What else? Organizational values, for instance, in culture, we have a leadership and value-based leadership. So clarity in leadership and mission and strategy is source of well-being for people. Corporate governance, dignity at work, for instance, diversity, inclusion. These are all elements of this area, cultural related. Personal and professional development, career development, mentoring, coaching, performance management. So they are all active key area in building the our human resource employee well-being strategy. Again, financial well-being, fair pay, benefit policies, the way we reward the employee affects the well-being. So flexible benefit scheme, where people can find things interesting for their, own life, retirement planning, employee financial support, for instance, from establishing a fund in order to support people in moment of particular difficulty, access to independent financial advisor. So this area are of key relevance. I didn't mention something about lifestyle, walking clubs, lunchtime yoga. Sorry for this siren. And healthy menu, for instance, at canteen. So they are all activities of critical importance when we are going to design our mental well-being strategy. So now there is something that I mentioned earlier. Who are considered or considerable particular groups of people of significant relevance in at practical level in pursuing employee well-being related objectives? Are only managers of organization, for instance? What do you think? So for sure, HR professionals, we have of course, a principal role, since we manage people within the organization. As a HR professional, we need to persuade, we need to convince our senior manager through strong business cases that well-being is a priority, and we have to put well-being in the middle of our business model. HR people are also in charge of integrate well-being practices into the organization's day-to-day operation. For instance, when we design job as HR professional, we have to consider well-being from the onset. Senior manager and executive, if we don't have they on board, lack of senior management commitment to well-being is a major barrier to implementing a well-being oriented HR strategy. So senior managers are crucial, and they should act as a role model. And as mentioned, we need to build strong business cases, showing concretely the advantage and what the objectives are of investment in people well-being. This is the most delicate category of people, line manager. Poor management styles is still the main cause of work-related stress, because they have much of the day-to-day responsibility. They manage directly employees. So employees' health and well-being falls within online managerial, within line management domain, definitely. So implementing stress management initiative, performance management specifically designed to reshape the managerial style according to our well-being objectives. So supporting adjustment, for instance, at work, and promoting personal relationships are all example of critical initiatives to be carried out in order to we really need to look after this role. Line managerial role is the fundamental one for the employees' well-being. Then other categories of people. Occupational health. We said that well-being, employee well-being programs are kind of widespread in today's HR activities. Occupational health is a specialist, is a branch of the medicine that focuses on health in the workplace. So for this reason, occupational health practitioners, they are likely to work together HR department as a critical partners for people professional, and generally speaking, working together with who's responsible for health and safety in the workplace. Lastly, but not last, employees. So this recalls the initial question: who is called to be in a frontline position in promoting well-being? Employees as well. So employees also have a high responsibility, a strong responsibility for looking after their own health and well-being. So it's not only manager, it's not about the employee as well. Of course, their voice must be promoted by the organization. Employees should never stop to speak up when it's about well-being issues of every nature within the workplace, definitely. But employees can't be passively oriented toward their well-being. So if we don't look after, we are all employees, regardless. We are manager, we are frontline operational workers, or CEO. The CEO as well is an organizational employee. We need to be active in looking after our well-being. We don't need to be overwhelmed. We don't need to put performance and risk of losing our job. Otherwise we lose much more than our job. We lose our health, which worth much more than our job. So thankfully today we live in an environment much more sensitive to employee related well-being related issues. So speak up when it's about employees related issues and looking after our own well-being. So this is definitely important. So I can definitely thank you so much for your participation and everything I learned from you, and I hope that I was able to share something that you found interesting during this series of webinar. It's always a moment to me to connect with interesting people like you and learn about your experience and point of view, which is the most important one, most important things about sharing knowledge. And I really I want to sincerely thank you for your participation and the knowledge you added to these meetings. I'm sure there will be other appointment, other session coming soon, and I'll be more than happy of delivering more session, talking about interesting topics and HR and corporate governance, business strategy, stakeholders related topics. So again, thank you very much. Is there anything you want to add in terms of well-being, something you found interesting, something? Please share your point of view, share what's happening to you, and share something about this topic, which is, I think, really of utmost importance, regardless what happened last year. And coronavirus, really, well-being is if we don't put well-being in the middle of our activity, we dehumanizing our job, our work. And we are, when we talk about human resource management, how can we be, not fully well-being oriented? Otherwise, as I said, we dehumanize the work, and we want to get there. So Yasser, Felix, Kwasi, Scrub, please share your thought about well-being. Is there something you feel to add? Something?
Yeah. Hello.
Kwasi, yes, I can
Yeah.
hear you. Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. Good.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. Employee well-being is good, but you see, the problem HR professionals face is that most of the time employees see HR professionals as working for management and not the employees.
Great.
Yes, most of the time we see the HR function as, oh, recruitment, just recruit and that's all. They don't see HR as being there for the employees. And that is why most organizations, they have these trade unions, because they tell that they have been failed by the HR professionals in most organizations. So I think it's high time the HR will let the employees see that we are there for their well-being. We speak for them. Yes, we speak for them. We represent them. We want to see we want to fight for them, for management to improve upon their well-being and not just seeing them.
Sometimes I'll come here and get up.
Great. Wait, let me just mute.
Yeah,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah,
I would
so
just mute Yasser. Was just 1 second. Yasser was with me.
Yeah, okay.
I got your point, and yes, definitely is a challenge for many employees getting their right recognized from the organization. Often, unfortunately, trade union fail in obtaining shaping in culture. You know, we said, I don't know if you agree with me, there are many initiatives, you know, well-being and stuff, but isolated, and they don't change really the culture. They don't really make well-being in the middle of the you know, attention, but it's simply like, you know, promoting activity for populism reason, and this is not going to work. You know, there are still many bad practices implemented within organization. Even sometimes we hear about scandals regarding involving huge corporation and famous and successful, attractive organization, and we see about, you know, class section, the sort of strong cases of bad work practices. So it's difficult, and you know, in these few slides I try to highlight the importance of us as a manager to build strong business cases. So especially when we work in a private sector, you know, we shouldn't forget, if when we work you know, for the charity sector or no profit sector, is different. But when we work for private organization, we shouldn't forget that the main reason of the organization, what justifies the organization, is that the organization make profit in the long term, for sustainability. So organization born in order to make profit. This is the reason why born organization, you know, are in place. But organizations don't live in isolation. Organizations, they live in a macro context, which is made by another kind of rule, society rule, toward which comply with. And within this society rule that are regulation, you know, work related law, employment law, are shaped by instances coming from us, coming from individuals, coming from. So there is something that we need to remember. If we want to convince an organization to do something, the best way is to prove that they can make money out of it. Now, thankfully, we have a strong evidences, quasi, that if you invest in employees' well-being, you get money out of it. And we have to prove that we are able to do so. We have to prove that this is real. If we do so, we can overcome the barrier toward a natural, it must be like this, it should be like this, it should be the manager, entrepreneur, they should look after employees' well-being before their own interests. So the employee well-being, even under the regulatory point of view, we have a section under 72 of the Company Act, which forces, obliges entrepreneurs and directors in putting the employees' interests before the company interest. So this is a regulatory, aspect to comply with for company's director. It's not something that is only additional. It's a requirement in running organization, the one of looking after the interest of the employees and their well-being before the interest of the company of making money. But especially for profit company, they objective, the ultimate goal is to be sustainable. So it's to make money. Therefore, there is nothing strongest than showing economic advantage in looking after employee well-being. So if we build, since thankfully we have this tool, we have this kind of leverage, we should build business cases showing and promoting well-being, regardless the ethical reason, which may fall short sometimes because they don't act as a strong motivator for everybody, but because of business, profit-related reason. We make money out of caring of employee well-being. Therefore, there are no excuses. Not only is an ethical duty, but we organization improve their performance. So it's really crazy if organizations do not do so. It's self-harming for organization not to look after the employee well-being at strategic level, putting the employee well-being in the middle of the agenda, not as an additional, element to compensate work practice of bad nature. This is often what work-life balance initiatives are supposed to do. So compensating, mitigating what derives from, shouldn't derive from work, shouldn't derive problem from work. It shouldn't derive, mental health issue from work. It's not that, okay, people are, suffer from mental condition. Let's organize working balance initiative to compensate. No. Let's redesign the work in order to prevent people, experiencing this kind of issue. I don't know if you agree with me, Kwasi, but I got definitely your point, and I do agree that there is a huge difficulty in embarking, in getting in senior manager in order to invest in employee well-being, and this difficult, and often when there are, unfortunately, a trade union, things became mechanicistic, things became, redundant, and became slow processes, and became really a bit of a mess. What do you think? There was also, I think, Yasser. Yasser, you were probably about to intervene earlier.
Yes.
Great.
All the things you said about well-being are spot on.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. We have implemented most of the things, and including sending managers for what we call mental health first aid.
Great.
So that people are able to detect mental health crucially and early enough in order
Great.
to support the support staff team.
Great.
We particularly implemented bought gym equipment, nutrition, and we looked at nutrition.
After all,
the company, all those things you mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, yes, so sorry, just 1 second, sorry if I interrupted. After all,
Yeah.
Who more than you in your sector, it would be a paradox whether, since your sector, but, interesting, go ahead, please. They are all interesting.
So mental health first aid we did, nutrition we did, In terms of, we bought gym equipment for staff to participate in activities, especially during the lockdown. People couldn't go to gym, so we kind of got some soft gym equipment for the department.
This is a very beautiful initiative, and this is probably the reason why I couldn't find anything on the market for a long time, because probably
you couldn't.
You bought everything.
Exactly, and also the company migrated to Microsoft 365 to enable home working. So during the lockdown, most managers, we work from home. Not only did we not travel, productivity increased, and also we save a lot of money on fuel traveling to work, which was in fact an additional benefit for managers working from home. So a lot of good things for the organization. So everything you have said is spot on, really spot on, really spot on.
Great, I'm happy to hear that from you. And of course, I have no doubt your organization is a highly responsive, since it's an organization running within the care sector. So definitely, it couldn't be different. It would be interesting, I would be curious to ask you regarding the migration, of people that you mentioned earlier. Now there is a big buzz about working, getting people into the organization back to the physical work. And, whilst in the beginning was difficult to arranging people working from home and remotely, now there are many people are reluctant in coming back, and there is this big buzz in terms of well-being. There are many people, they don't want to go back to physical, workplace, but they want to continue working at least under a certain degree of flexibility from home. Do you think this may have been the reason of, I don't know the nature of course, if they work as assistant, they cannot work from home in the majority of cases, 100%. But do you think is this the case that can lead people to quit, or affecting people well-being? The fact that organization may unilaterally recall people back to the office. What do you think about it?
Well, I don't think for those working from home, mostly was the managers. A lower level employees, basically, they work directly at the workplace. So these were, but generally now everybody's migrated to Microsoft 365, including the lower level employees, which is a very huge cost. But that is to make working accessible for them as well.
Great.
Across board. Yes. So basically, we got the flexibility of having a hybrid, working from home, and then also going to the workplace. But what we find is people are eager, the managers are eager to go to work, because there are things they need to do on the ground, which they are not able to do at home, because you are not able to interact properly with the employees on the ground working from home. Of course, you can do it on 365 Microsoft Teams, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
Definitely.
So you will find people will be really good to go back to work.
Yeah, definitely. Are you pro or contra a sort of integration, remote working with physical work? So do you propose solution, mixed solution, a certain degree of flexibility, or you think that people should come back to straight, to the
hello, I think that hello, can you?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yes, I can hear you. Yeah,
can you hear me? Yes.
I
think that
perfectly.
The hybrid method, the hybrid method is the best solution. Working from home, we also found is very, very exhausting, because you're having meetings on Teams. So mentally, it's more draining than actually working from work. you are on Teams from one meeting to another, and the meetings are long, you're sitting for long, you know, you don't really interact with your peers, you know, so the disadvantages of, you know, being online is quite huge. And I think that it will bring some mental health issues in the population for years to come if it continues.
Yeah, definitely.
So a hybrid method is the best one.
Yeah, it's the best one, definitely, especially in terms of we are not ready, you know, to manage the workload of working from home, and then the presenteeism and the fact that your work became your life, you know, when you are at home. So essentially, there is no boundary anymore between your life and your work, because and you risk of maybe to work for 12 hours a day. So this is definitely something we need to look at, but I do agree 100% with you in terms of the hybrid model. I think really is beneficial. I think both are a combination of remote work and physical work, which is still a huge important component of interaction between the employees, workforce. Definitely, I'm with you in this perspective. Any other intervention, Felix, Scrub? Is there something you want to add? Did you find it topics interesting? Is there something you want to share, Felix?
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
I think the topic has been really worthwhile. I learned a lot in terms of the need to protect the workers and also to care about their well-being. It's something that we are grappling with, especially those of us who work in the higher education sector, where we have to teach online, and sometimes we are forced to do some of the subjects in person, and there are lots of risk associated with that.
Definitely.
So it's now we are following a blended approach, or what you call the hybrid,
Right.
to deliver our lectures. So
Partially online, partially physically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's really critical. I mean, in terms of employee well-being, because if the employees are not fine, then it's really a major problem. So
definitely.
I really agree with what you've just said.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for, you know, I'm happy you found the topics interesting, and definitely I can imagine, you know, how this may affect the moral, you know, when you say, you know, forced to deliver, you know, against your real will. You know, it's a challenging moment, and employers, seniors manager and manager at any level, called to have absolutely human touch and prioritize the well-being. You know, there is nothing can be put in a secondary aspect than you know, well-being. Well-being cannot be a secondary factor in attributing tasks to employee. He simply can't. You know, organization today are called to consult with the employees the return to work, to the physical you know, delivery of the task. It's a delicate moment, and for sure, you know, a human approach, also supported by regulation, because employers, they have a duty of care of employees. So ultimately, employers must absolutely comply with certain parameters, therefore, wanted or not, and employees are also, you know, free to take their own action in terms of when there is a sort of negligence from employer, and this is it's a good things to kind of coalesce, kind of gather all together and putting forward the instances in order to promoting a safe work environment, especially for instance in case whereby you work with people and you are asked to deliver face-to-face classes. High level of precaution and measures must be in place in order to make this request to the employees, and I hope that in your case this is the case, but I understand that it is required sensitivity, because even though there are measures in place, there may be people psychologically affected. So it's not only about having measurement in place, it's about making understanding, measuring the confidence of people, the level of psychological impact that people are having in coming back to the physical workplace. So thank you very much.